Hi, everyone. We're going to be looking at another one of Kyle's videos with his really bad takes on Iran. Every time Kyle talks about Iran-related issues, his takes are just really bad, just really bad. By the way, I don't know if people are here because I just had a power outage and I wasn't sure if I'm going to be able to do this live, but it came back just like 10 minutes before we were about to go live. So I'm glad we got to do this. By the way, Carl forgot to change the graphics behind them, so ignore these masks. Usually he's supposed to like change it to something Iran related when he's talking about Iran, but I think he just left these on from his previous news segment. So yeah, just ignore that. We're gonna get into his review on. I basically copied the title of this video. I copied his title. I just changed it a little bit. I replaced his title as Fox News does insane anti-Iran propaganda, and I changed my title to Kyle Kulinski does insane pro-Iranian government propaganda. I'm more accurate because he shouldn't say anti-Iran. This is like I said Iranian government just to be more accurate. By the way, guys, given that how stressful where I am, where I'm living right now, the power outages and internet outage is very common. And every time I'm doing a live stream, especially if there's somebody important we have as a guest, or if I'm a guest on someone else's show, I'm constantly under this stress that the power or the internet could go out at any moment, right? So if the power goes out, if I all of a sudden disappear, that's what's happening, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. If we reach 200 patrons or 200 YouTube members, any of these two, either one of these two, 200 YouTube members or 200 patrons, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go get a power generator. I'm going to use your money to go get a power generator. And I'm also going to get a second internet provider in case one of them goes out. I could go live with the second one, right? So that's what I'm going to do if we had 200 patrons or 200 members. So join as a member on YouTube or become a patron. Link in the description. Chopin is saying, and now you know what happens to me. Yeah, now we both live in third world countries. To be fair, a lot of other things are great here, though. All right, let's watch this video together, and let me tell you why Kyle's take on anything Iran related is always crap.
Dove headfirst into some
Wait, let's go from the start.
So Fox News dove headfirst into some anti-Iran propaganda. Let's see what they had to say.
Welcome back. Well, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo calling out members of the United Nations Security Council after they overwhelmingly rejected extending the Iran arms embargo.
I regret, too, that the whole world didn't join against the world's largest state-sponsored terrorists to ensure that they can't have weapon systems that present risk. The United States is determined to make sure that the Iranians and this regime, this theocratic regime, doesn't have the capacity to inflict even more harm on the world.
The embargo is set to expire in October. Russia and China predictably opposed the U.S. proposal, while several of our European allies abstained from the vote. Here with her reaction is State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortagus. Morgan, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Okay, so Iran is the world's greatest sponsor of terrorism. We had an arms embargo. The United States says, let's renew it because it makes sense. And almost everyone is against us or abstains. Why?
Yeah, there was a real lack of moral courage at the UN Security Council on Friday night. This is a 13-year arms embargo, or even longer potentially, and this has lasted through Republican and Democrat administrations. This is something that the world at the UN Security Council has recognized is needed. And why is that, as you said in your intro? Because Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism. So just so your viewers know, Pete, what the world, which those countries represented at the Security Council decided to do on Friday night was to quietly abstain in order to allow Iran to now have the ability in October to purchase conventional weapons from China and from Russia. Now, mind you, there's a lot of people who were against this, namely Israel, namely the countries in the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council. These are the countries that are directly affected by the malign behavior of Iran in the region, the countries who are susceptible to being attacked with these conventional weapons because Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism, said, please don't do this. But our friends in Europe The United Kingdom, sadly, France, Germany, they didn't even have the courage to vote no. They just abstained.
That was pathetic, rank propaganda. I mean, that's doing the bidding of the neocons, doing the bidding of the security state.
Okay, before we get into Kyle's crappy take, we have a user here with a, what is this? This guy's username is Armin the Navobian Monster. That's pretty impressive. Okay. Armin the Navobian Monster is saying many of these woke people love Shia Islam. Both are self-hating. Okay.
Pentagon, CIA. I mean, it's pathetic. So let's run through it. First of all, they keep repeating this, and they've done it for a long time now. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism. They never tell you how. They never give you the metric, because that's bogus. That's just totally not true.
Wait, what's that true? I was distracted by you guys in the live chat.
And they've done it for a long time now. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism. They never tell you how. They never give you the metric.
They don't tell you how? How do you not know this? How do you not know this? You know, I mean, if you don't know that Iran's government, sorry, I keep making Kyle's mistake, okay? Because he puts Iran into a whole group. This, you should, again, a lot of people, again, don't say Iran, because this is the Islamic Republic, okay? They do, God damn it, you moron. You know this. How do you must, guys, tell me, does he not know that the Islamic Republic funds Hamas and Hezbollah and Hashd al-Shabi? He must know that. He must know that. Does he consider like Hamas not a terrorist group? Does he consider Hezbollah not a terrorist group? Hezbollah that has been proven not only they're active in Lebanon and around that region, that they actually carry out assassinations across the freaking planet, that they have ties into a lot of shady stuff almost everywhere. Like, how does it, like, he says, like, they never tell you how. Do you know how many reports, how many independent reports, not non-partisan, not idealistic reports are there of the ways that the Iran's government is funding terror all over the planet? They never tell you how. There's literally, like, there's reports on this. There's official reports on this, not just by your government, by other governments as well. They never tell you how. You know what you can say? Like, you could say maybe, all right, leading state sponsor of terror. Maybe you could say, I don't know about leading. The leading part could be disputed, and it can. I agree with that. But do you dispute that the fact, Kyle, that they're a state sponsor of terror, is that part something you disagree with, that people don't show you? Even if you disagree with the leading part, don't tell me that the people that are saying that Iran's government is a state sponsor of terror, they never tell you how. This is why Kyle doesn't do debates on geopolitics, because he will be destroyed by anybody that knows remotely what they're talking about on any of the points that he's bringing up. He has no idea, and he refuses to be corrected on any of them. Let me see what our members are saying. By the way, I'm contractually obligated to highlight our member comments. So these are paid members of our channel. Thank you so much. Marcus saying Kyle Kulinski doesn't know much about anything. Is he lazy, stupid, or both? I'm not sure. I mean, I think he knows a lot more about US politics. Even if I disagree with him, I wouldn't say that he doesn't know. Armin the Navobian Monster says Kyle will soon be forcing himself to cry on the day of Ashura. Yeah. Okay. That's
because that's bogus. That's just totally not true. there's a better argument for Saudi Arabia being the largest state sponsor of terrorism because they build, radical madrasas all over the place, pushing their Salafist.
Wait, okay, hold on. I need to. You guys are have some interesting points that's distracting me. This is the narrative that Kyle has. Kyle thinks that it's the Sunnis who are the terrorists. The Shias are not the terrorists. He's like, it's the Gulf Arab Sunni countries that are responsible. It's Saudi Arabia. Those are responsible. You know why it's so convenient for the leftists to suggest that it's the Sunnis that are the terrorists and not the Shias? Because for some weird reason, and this might be by accident, I mean, it's probably not, but I have to think about it. It seems like right-wing politicians in the United States are closer to, I mean, they all are, but they seem to be more happy with working with Saudi Arabia, and left-leaning people, the Democrats are eager to maybe do a deal with Iran's government. So, I mean, this is not the case, but it just seems like, the right Republicans are closer to Sunni countries, and the Democrats are maybe a little bit more willing to deal with the Shia countries. Again, this is not the case because all of them are in the pocket of Saudi Arabia's money or oil money, but it does seem like it's a little bit closer this way when it comes to. So it's very convenient for left-leaning people to suggest that the terrorism is mostly coming from Sunni countries, which is actually not the case, because if you look at the terrorism that comes out of Sunni countries, it's mostly not state sponsored. It just organically comes from within the Sunni countries. Again, I know there is I've seen the reports of some Saudi princes have some ties to some of these terrorist groups. I know that that's a thing, okay? But mostly it's not state sponsored. But when it comes to the Shia support for terrorist groups, it is directly coming from higher ups. It's directly Khamenei's signature is on every one of it. Like, he is approval of him. It wouldn't be done without his approval. The sponsorship, the financial, and not just financial, moral, ideological, training, all the strategic, all of the tentacles of the Shia empire being built in the region is coming directly from the highest levels of authority within the Iranian government. So if you want to talk about state sponsor of terror, it's a Shia thing. It's not a Sunni thing. That's a Shia thing, Kyle. The Sunni countries, the actual governments, they're actually playing a defensive game against the Iranian government. They don't have any ambitions beyond their borders. None of the Sunni regimes in the region, Kyle, have any ambitions beyond their borders. They're all just trying to defend their borders. What the hell is this? They're all trying to defend their borders against the imperialism of the Shia imperialism led by the people in Tehran.
Here. Argument for Saudi Arabia being the largest state sponsor of terrorism because they build, radical madrasas all over the place, pushing their Salafist, Wahhabi, fundamentalist version of Islam.
There is no fundamentalist version of Islam. Islam is fundamentalist. Okay, this is also some horse crap that people like. Oh, like they have a distorted fundamentalist version of Islam. Oh, you mean Islam? Okay, so here's an interesting thing. Saudi Arabia, after the Islamic Revolution of 1979, decided to spread Wahhabism across the region. So that's fair. That's fair. They did that beyond their borders. Okay, but not for the same reasons the Islamic Republic did. Islamic Republic, they didn't spread their ideology across their borders. They spread their ideology plus their weapons, plus funding for terrorist activity, plus taking over governments of countries like Lebanon and trying in other places, almost taking over now of Syria and effectively taking over Iraq now as well. But even that ideological exportation of Wahhabism that happened by the House of Saud from Saudi Arabia, which they now regret, that was a reaction, Kyle, to the Islamic Republic's exporting their ideology behind the borders, and the Saudis pissing their pants and trying to do a countermeasure against the Iranian government. That was a reaction to the Iranian government. So even that milder version of what the Iranian government is trying to do, even what you're talking about, like, oh, they were spreading Wahhabism around the region, even that was a response to the country that you think is not responsible for any of this. Hold on, why can't I? Oh wow, we got a super chat. Where did I miss? I missed the super chat. Wow, thank you so much, Lee Spencer, with the $2 super chat. Really appreciate that. Wow, that's very kind. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. P2020 is saying, I suppose Kyle's kind of has fed the default position that only the Sunni regimes are the rotten ones. Yep. The thing is, the Iranian government is a lot more careful when it comes to their support for terrorism, right? Where the vast majority of the terror activities that the Iranian government planned, executed, funded, and executed, they have been very careful. It's close to almost all of them, even though it was directly planned by the state, by the Iranian government, and even though it was supported and funded and planned, and even though it was done by Shias that have direct ties to the politicians in Tehran, and ties to Shia ideology, they have been very, very careful, because these I'm trying not to swear, these people are strategic. They have been very careful to make sure that the actual act of these terrorist activities are not done by people that have Iranian citizenship. See how that works, Kyle? And they will give people like you the excuse to go and say, well, this is not Iran's government then. Oh, these were the Iraqis and the Lebanese and the Syrians and the Houthis and the people, the revolutionaries in Bahrain, even though it's been proven beyond a shadow of the doubt that this is all Iran's government. The reason why Iran's government is careful to make sure that the final execution of these plans is not done by Iranian citizens, because they know legally that will be considered something that, based on international law, the other countries could consider that a direct act of war by the Islamic Republic and retaliate, right? This is a dance that United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Iran's government are dancing. They all know that they don't want to go into full-on head-to-head war with each other, even though they want to poke at each other. They don't want to escalate. None of these actors want to escalate into a direct, full-on head-to-head war, unless somebody gets really desperate. I don't know. Maybe like Trump realizing that he's going to lose. I don't know. But in normal circumstances, none of these people wants to escalate into a head-to-head full-on war. Okay? And so Iran's government knows that everything has to do things through its proxies. If Iranian soldiers with Iranian citizenship do any of these things, that's an act of war. So if you have Iranian proxies, if you have Hezbollah, if you have Hash-Shabi, if you have the Houthis, even if they kill American soldiers, if it's not done by anybody officially within the Iranian government or with Iranian citizenship, then Iran, without actually speaking, like hush hush, wink wink, hush hush, Iranian's government is giving the excuse to the US government, because they both don't want this, to not declare this as an act of war. Right? I mean, I know I killed your soldiers, but you know you don't want to go to war with me. So I'm giving you the excuse not to go to war with me by not actually having any of my actual official soldiers kill your soldiers.
And, you know, Saudi Arabia are the key exporters of that ideology. By the way, hilarious, because we arm...
Again, Saudi Arabia is the key exporter of that ideology the Wahhabism that backfired on them, Kyle. It backfired on them. The Wahhabists that resulted in the creation of Al-Qaeda and ISIS and many, many other groups, okay, that they spread Wahhabism everywhere, in Pakistan, in Indonesia, all across Syria, everywhere, right? And the people that the Frankenstein monster that they created wants to kill the Saudis. They hate the Saudi regime. The Al-Nusra, the ISIS and Al-Qaeda, if they get their hands on any of the people in the Saudi regime, they will behead them. Okay? But when Iran's government spread their ideology around the region, when they spread 12er Shia Islam around the region, they were a lot more successful at it. They managed to have it, they hold a leash. These are people outside of Iran's border that would literally give their lives for Khamenei sitting in Tehran, even though they're not Iranian citizens themselves. They will die for Khamenei. See the difference? This ideological influence that Tehran has around the region, the connections they have, the influence they have, has managed to give the resources and the possibility for Tehran's government to be able to fight an asymmetrical warfare more efficiently than Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Egypt or any of the people, or even Israel, right? None of them have the, with very little, with much less weapon capability, because here's the thing. The difference between the effectiveness of Saudi Arabia's government against the Houthis, which they still haven't managed to win that war with the people that had literally didn't have shoes. So here's the thing. See, this is the difference. Saudi Arabia, with all the weapons, with all the greatest weapons, that the largest arms deal in history that they did with the United States. How much was it? Was it $200 billion deal? Greatest in history, buying the most advanced modern warfare weaponry that any money could ever buy from the United States. With all of that, okay? Saudi Arabia couldn't defeat, how many years has it been? 4 years, 5 years now? They couldn't defeat the Houthis, who to begin with didn't have shoes. They were going with war with Houthis, and they couldn't defeat them. Okay? Yet the Islamic Republic, for some goddamn reason, has managed to create a Shia crescent across the region. Recently, that has been less successful because of the sanctions, but still defeated many of their enemies across the region and managed to create a level of dominance that these other Sunni countries are incapable of. Why? Because ideas are sometimes more powerful than giant weapons. Hey guys, are we still here? Tell me if we're still here. I got kicked out. I don't know why I got kicked out. Do you guys have me? Let me know if you have me and my audio. Yeah, we have you. Great, thank you. I don't know what happened. All right, guys, tell me again. This is I need to get this. I need to get some equipment to make sure this doesn't happen. Thank you for telling people to be patient. Okay. Yeah, this is third world problems. Again, guys, if you want to support me getting a generator and a second internet provider, please consider becoming a patron or a YouTube member. Link in the description. Either one is fine. What was the last thing that I said that you guys heard? I was talking about the difference between having. We got another super chat that I missed, I think. Oh yeah, we got a €5 super chat. This is going to go into my generator fund. What happened? Marco is saying, I want to finance making larger posters of what Armin, the Navabian monster, has a picture. I'll buy several immediately. What's the picture that Armin, the Navabian monster, has? Is that a picture of me in a? I don't know what that is. Thank you so much, Marco, for the €5 super chat. That's very generous. Okay, Leah saying, yeah, we have you loud and clear. Yeah, no shoes. I said, okay, so what I was saying is that Saudi Arabia couldn't defeat the Houthis with their giant weapons that they had, the greatest weaponry money could buy. They couldn't defeat the Houthis after 4 or 5 years. How many years has it been? 4 or 5 years. After more than 4 years of war with the Houthis, they couldn't defeat people that literally didn't have shoes, that were going to war without shoes. Yet Iran, with much less, access to the weaponry that Saudi Arabia has managed to create a dominance, a Shia crescent around the region, way beyond like the asymmetrical warfare that Iran has managed to win in many different battles. Again, so this is something that they're not as good as now because of the sanctions, but still, it's pretty impressive that they managed to go so far. Wow, Lee Spencer just became a new member. Thank you so much, Lee. This is going to go towards buying a new generator. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know why I can't highlight the things that I want as effectively as before. Something is going on. All right, so this shows the difference between the success that the Iranian government has and the success that Saudi Arabia's government has with all the weapons that they have. It shows that in some cases, ideas, the power of ideas, the power of dogma, the power of connections, the power of having boots on the ground, but not just any boots on the ground, boots that are willing to die for you on the ground, is more important and cheaper, something that money can't buy. This is something that religion can get you and money can't buy, right? The fact that Iran's government has had so much success against countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE shows how important these connections and how important these ideas are, right? There's I would say it would be very difficult to find somebody in Saudi Arabia's army that would actually die for that government, right? They actually have to get mercenaries sometimes to do their bidding, right? And this is what Kyle doesn't understand. Kyle doesn't understand how much more dangerous the ideas that the Iranian government is spreading, how much more dangerous that is compared to. Wow, we got Pete. Did P just increase his membership? Thank you so much, P. Wow, you guys are being so generous. Appreciate that. You guys are so nice. Wow, so thank you guys. That's so sweet. I mean, if Power Outages gets me this many new members, I'm hoping. No, I'm just kidding. Here, let's continue.
Arguably the largest state sponsor of terrorism.
They're not. Saudi Arabia is not a state sponsor of terror. They're against. Okay, I'm not defending Saudi's government, okay? Saudi's government is crap. They have their own human rights violation. Even though Saudi Arabia's government is not a state sponsor of terror, their human rights record is as bad sometimes as the terrorists, okay? So I'm not defending the Saudi government, but the Saudi government, all the terrorists that came out of the Gulf Arab countries, the Saudi government is not just against them. They piss their pants thinking, well, they don't wear pants, but they piss whatever they're wearing thinking about them. These terrorist groups, they're as much as they're against the United States, they're against the Saudi government as well. And they are already there. The Saudi government fears them more than the United States. They're not a state sponsor of terror. They hate these people. They're scared of them. They check under their bed to see if there's an ISIS or an Al-Qaeda member under their bed before they go to sleep. They're not state sponsors of terror. Well, we got a super... Yeah, okay, great.
With multi-billion-dollar weapons deals. And then, by the way, come to find out that, of course, they're in bed with jihadists on the ground in Syria, for example, and elsewhere. And they're also carrying out a genocide in Yemen, as we've talked about time and time again on this show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is not something that the rest of the media likes to talk about almost at all.
Yeah, I talk about it. But here's the thing. I call them all out, right? Here's how you should know if the content creator that you're following is biased or not, okay? I call out the United States for their support of human rights violation, for example, funding Saudi Arabia's genocide in the Yemenis people. I call out Saudi Arabia's genocide in the Yemenis people. I call out the Islamic Republic's genocide. Well, they love the fact that the Yemenis people are dying because it gives them an excuse to be there as well. I call out China. I call out all of these people, right? I call out the violation of the human rights of the people that are my ideological enemies, right? Because people are people no matter what their ideas are, right? But Kyle, you are a hypocrite because you're taking sides. You're taking sides. You're not being consistent. I don't have to. I sleep well at night because I know I call all these mofos out. I call all of them out.
So we arm the largest state sponsor of terrorism, and we're whining because of an arms embargo.
Thank you, Marco is saying we'll buy you a freaking solar panel if necessary, my friend. Aw, thank you, Marco. That's so sweet.
Is expiring for Iran. Now, stop and think about that. So there's a conventional weapons arms embargo that's expiring, and we're mad that some other countries were like, yeah, we're not going to re-up it. We pulled out of the nuclear agreement with Iran. We pulled out of it. We had an agreement. We pulled out of it. Then we bombed a top military commander, Suleimani.
Okay, one of these, to be fair, was a bad idea. The second one was not a bad idea. The Soleimani killing of Soleimani was, in hindsight, was the best thing. I mean, you had to respond to what Iran's government was doing in Iraq, and you wanted to do something that would not escalate the situation into a full-out war. Like, you had to make it hurt, but you also had to make it so that the Iran's government would not be forced to go out into war. That seemed like. And given that you guys are like when that happened, you guys like, oh my God, World War III is happening. All you guys like, oh my God, we're at the brink of war. Didn't happen, Kyle. I told you it didn't. It's not going to happen, and it didn't. Okay, so given that it didn't happen, it seemed like it was the best because you couldn't let Iran's government's proxies, to just go out and assault your embassy and just not respond to that, even especially given after what. A lot of other things that Iran's government did in the region. They bombed the Aramco. They were harassing ships, and all of that. We were like, okay, I guess we're not responding to any of this. And then you wanted a direct attack on United States embassy, which is basically an attack on U.S. soil. You wanted that to go unresponded. And think about it. If you were in that, I mean, I think that the Trump administration is moronic on almost everything, many things they do. But on this, seemed like the best target. Soleimani was outside of Iran. Taking him out was like gonna really sting. And it was like not an attack on Iranian soil. The best thing to make sure that the reaction was devastating without encouraging full-out war. That seemed like a great response, Kyle, especially given that your predictions on World War III did not come true.
So, and we also bombed them in a couple different places.
Okay, so people in the live chat, I know they would disagree with me that getting out of the agreement with Iran was not a bad idea. I think it was a bad idea, but we could have that on another discussion.
So when we broke the agreement and we bombed them, why on earth would they ever agree to an arms embargo after that?
You bombed them. They were in Iraq. They were doing, yeah.
Because just, you know how they always say about Israel? Israel has a right to self-defense. Does Iran have a right to self-defense?
Kyle, yes, Iran has a right to self-defense. But they're outside of their borders, Kyle. That's not self-defense. They're outside of their borders. They're empire building outside of their borders. That's not self-defense, Kyle. This is the same thing that you call out the United States government for their imperialism. You're like, oh my God, what are we doing over here? What are we doing over there? Why is the United States government, why are we funding this? What business do we have in this country or that country? Why don't you apply your same standards, Kyle, to the Islamic Republic of Iran? Why don't you do that with them? Why didn't you say that? What is Iran's government doing in Lebanon? Do you know, Kyle, as you're recording this is quite recent. This is August 19, 2020. Do you know people in Lebanon are in the streets asking for Iran to get the fuck out of their country? I swear. God damn it. I try not to swear. Guys, please share this video because YouTube is going to now punish me for swearing. You know, people in Syria, people in Iraq are in the streets saying, like, asking the Iran's government to get the fuck out of their country. Did you know that, Kyle? Why are you against United States imperialism? You're not against the Islamic Republic's imperialism? How is that self-defense? You know how when people say, oh, we need to fight them so that we don't have to fight them here at home, and you guys think that's an excuse to get involved in other countries? Do you know that's exactly what the Islamic Republic of Iran says to its people? That we need to fight them. We need to fight ISIS and the Americans and Israel and Lebanon, in Syria, in Yemen, and they need to fight Saudi Arabia. In Iraq, we need to fight them there so that we don't have to fight them at home. Do you know the fear-mongering that you are so sensitive about? Do you know what the Iran's government says to its people? Like, if we were not in Lebanon, if we were not in Iraq, Iranian women would be raped by ISIS right now. Do you know that that's what the narrative that they use? Would you let that fly if Trump was saying something like that we need to be in other countries? Because if we weren't, American women would be raped by ISIS right now. Would you accept that, Kyle, as a narrative? Or you would be like, oh my God.
Or is it, by definition, never self-defense if it's an official U.S. enemy, an official baddie that we're dealing with? They never have a right to self-defense.
It's not self-defense because they're not just doing self-defense, Kyle. They're doing offense. They're doing offense beyond their borders.
Because we're going to define what they do all the time as offensive, even if it's not. Even if it's not. And by the way, it's not. We're the ones who violated the nuclear agreement, and then we also bombed them. And
that has nothing to do. They were doing this offensive measures way before that nuclear deal, Kyle. And here's the thing. I'll tell you, to the people who don't like the nuclear deals, the nuclear deal didn't stop them from this offensive measure. So point one to 1987, who didn't like the deal. Okay? You think like, oh, we're the offensive one. We pulled out of the deal. They were doing this 40 years ago, Kyle. 40 years ago. And they've only gotten stronger. Nothing made them stop. The sanctions, the nuclear deal, they have been consistently expanding their influence in the region against the will of the governments and the people around them. Can you call that as? And they have done that using Shia ideology.
Then we turn around and get mad and cry because an arms embargo is expiring. And they're like, no, we would like conventional weapons because we would also like to defend ourselves. And by the way, these are the same...
They're not defending themselves, Carl. They're funding and arming terrorists who actually kill innocent people.
These same Fox News hosts are crazy about the Second Amendment. And they think the more guns there are, the more peace there is, because you reach a point of stability if everybody's armed. Now they're arguing for effectively the opposite on the national stage. Certain people are so bad that they can't even have the weapons. Interesting. Does that work for individuals too? No. Individuals, everybody can have the weapons. But on the national stage, I'm against what is effectively a Second Amendment on the national stage, and I want to disarm actors who I find to be beyond the pale. Now, by the way, another fact that nobody really likes to bring up is that we're sanctioning even medicine going into Iran. So they have medicine.
No, you're not. Oh, Jesus. United States government. Okay, I don't like doing this. I don't like defending the Trump administration because Trump administration bad. Okay, but they tried so many ways to make sure that the sanctions do not apply to food and medicine. And every time they tried to give the Iranian government a loophole so that medicine and food is not getting disrupted by the sanctions, the Iranian government tried to use those loopholes to go around the entire sanctions, including funding terrorists. Those loopholes that all these human rights organizations came to, like, hey, okay, guys, these sanctions, we can't let people die from hunger. We need to let medicine get in. Can we come up with a tool, a method to let these loophole for these things to be able to get in? And the United States government always was like, okay, yeah, let's do this, let's come up with that. And Iran's government were like, okay, they're giving me a loophole. Let me see if I could smuggle some other stuff from that. And they had to come and close it and try to open another one and another one and another one. And the Iran's government on purpose also makes things more dire in Iran for people so it could use its own people's suffering as propaganda. Let me see.
Medicine shortages, and some people are dying as a result of that. So we're sanctioning medicine, we're bombing them, and then we cry because the arms embargo is running out and people don't want to re-up it. Listen, you can't take the U.S. seriously with these absurd moral lectures, because as we arm the actual #1 state sponsor of terrorism, we cry.
They're not. Okay, first of all, here's the thing. He's doing a whataboutism, right? This is why it's so easy to defend my position, because I don't have to act like United States government is in a morally doing anything that I wouldn't call out, right? So because I'm very critical of United States support for human rights violation, and because this is all the trick that these people have, right? They're like, oh, you think Iran is bad, but United States fund Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I called it out, okay? I call all of it out. What else do you have against me, right? What else do you have? What else do you have against my point? It's just whataboutism. Yeah, I've been consistent on calling out United States support for human rights violations and support for theocrats and authoritarians in the region. I call that shit out. So what is your next point? You are one-sided. Because I call it out, then you don't have anything against me. You don't have any points against me when I call out the fuckery that the Islamic Republic of Iran does as well.
about a country that's not the number one state sponsor of terrorism maybe getting weapons. Guys, we had Saudi Arabia on the Human Rights Council.
Guys, again, these words mean things, okay? Saudi Arabia is horrible. One of the, like, when it comes to human rights violations, Saudi Arabia is worse than the Islamic Republic of Iran. Human rights violation, okay? But human rights violation and terrorism are two different things, okay? Saudi Arabia has a much worse human rights record than, I mean, it goes, number one, I would think it's North Korea. Number two, by a wide margin, is Saudi Arabia, just because North Korea is just like the champion of human rights violations. And number three, by a small margin, is the Islamic Republic of Iran, okay? But when it comes to state sponsor of terror, I think Iran's government is a champion on that. On that, Iran's government is a champion. Okay, human rights violation and supporting terrorism are two different things.
Like, can it get any more absurd? Of course it can't.
Yes, it can. You're more absurd.
Of course it can't. But this is what we do. We try to do the propaganda. We try to overthrow, the governments that are not under our thumb. And
you know why I think Kyle is doing propaganda? Because he's been saying this crap for a long time. And he must have seen some of the pushback against what he said. And it's so simple on why he's so wrong. So either he's just has created a bubble for himself that he's not being exposed to any of the counterpoints to what he's saying, or he's seen it. Okay, it's either that, or either he's created a very effective bubble for himself, or he's an idiot, because the stuff that I'm saying is pretty simple stuff. If you look into it for 5 minutes, you will see that it's true. Or he's a dishonest. This is the worst one. If he knows that these counterpoints exist and he's just ignoring them, that would be the worst scenario. But all three of these are bad.
the propaganda just gets so absurd, so ridiculous that anybody who's paying attention and knows this stuff even a little bit is going to roll their eyes at this stuff.
The self-awareness here, man. This is so like... Yes, anybody that knows a little bit about any of this stuff will roll their eyes at you, Kyle, at you.
I mean, this is embarrassing. Of course, they're going to want conventional weapons. Of course, they're going to want nuclear weapons. And the real reason is...
Of course, Kyle. Give the Islamic Republic of Iran nuclear weapons. What's wrong with it? Jeez. Oh, no. Yeah, of course they want that. Let's give them that. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? Yeah, they want self-defense. Self-defense for Islamic Republic of Iran. Just give them nukes. That's a reasonable thing to want for Islamic theocracy. Just give them nukes.
Deterrent to U.S. aggression.
All right. Well, let's see. I hate these suggestions. All right. Let me see. Look at you guys. Let's just pay attention to the live chat now. How about P2020 saying an earlier comment mentioned about his sponsors and maybe he's just delivering what they want to hear. I don't know. I can't read minds, but it's one of these things. But this is what I do, guys. Like, we have people here who are paid members and patrons. And here's one thing I promise you guys, okay? If I disagree with you, if I shit on your ideas before you're a paid member or you're a patron, I will keep shitting on your ideas when you become a paid member, but maybe a little bit more politely. I'm kidding. No, I will continue shitting on your ideas. Okay? So, even if you're a paid member. So you could, if you want to pay for that, you can pay for that. We have Ethan here. Ethan knows. Ethan is a Trump supporter. He knows that I don't hold, and he's a paid member. He continues to support us, even though he knows I'm not going to hold back on shitting on Trump. Shopam is here. Shopam is saying he actually wants to give Iran nukes LMAO. Technically, both sides want to give them nukes. Just one of them wants to give it more directly. Dude, if I mean, if the Islamic Republic gets nukes, that's a disaster. By the way, let me just be clear. I don't think the Islamic Republic of Iran will ever use its nukes once it has it. But it just needs to have it for it to become a major dominant source of all sorts of fucking everything. Like, there's no, if Iran government has nukes, then it knows that it could get away with so much more shit. It doesn't have to use its nukes after that to become a million times more of a destructive force in the region. It will not use its nuke. Like, they're not suicidal. These people are evil, but they're clever. Like, using its nukes, obviously that's suicidal. These people are not ISIS. They're not like they don't have a they don't have an end of times. I mean, they do have an end of times, narrative ideology, like what is it called? Apocalyptic view of the world. But they don't take that too seriously. I mean, they kind of pretend like they take it seriously, but they want to survive. They want to survive. They have done a very good job so far for the past 40 years. Against all odds, they have survived, right? So, yeah, using your nukes would be suicidal. You will have the entire world at your borders if you use your nukes, and the Islamic Republic of Iran is not suicidal. But again, that doesn't mean that it's a good idea for them to have nukes. They will basically increase everything they're doing around the region with a level of self-confidence and assurance of immunity from being toppled. I mean, and they will be rightfully so. Their risk analysis will completely change, and they know exactly why it should change. Okay, so I just saying, Armin, what is Soha's reminding everybody to like and subscribe. Thank you, Soha, for always doing that. P2020 also does that on Twitch, reminding everybody to follow us on Twitch. Thank you so much, P2020, for doing that. Ido is saying, what is the chance you would do a talk with Kyle? Almost very low chance, because he's very hard to get, especially for somebody like me. Marcus is saying, I'm 43, Armin. I'm basically seen everything already. A kid like you, even as bright as you, cannot really offend me with criticism. I'll try, Marco. I'll try to offend you. You're against Iranian conflict, right? What do you mean? Stuart. When you say Iranian conflict, that's like a umbrella term for so many different kinds of conflict. Iranian conflict, what kind of conflict? And conflict with Saudi Arabia, with Israel, with the United States, with Bahrain, with Qatar, with UAE, with who? Shopam saying, I don't think any nuclear state will use them, but just having them makes them threaten the entire world. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like having a RPG with you going around and punching people in the face, knowing that they're not going to punch back because you have an RPG on your back. P2020 saying, crapping on us is a lesser priority than getting that damn generator. Thank you, P2020. Okay. Ronald is saying, what would be possible solution according to you? Sanctions, war, or... Well, I mean, I actually doing a series of videos, member-only videos on this. So if you're a member, you should be able to have access to the first part of this discussion. But a mix of people-focused, like key people-focused sanctions, right? Like targeting individuals in a way that makes them suffer rather than, a mix of that, a mix of sanctions against specifically the IRGC, a mix of, and also adding to that, providing ways, dissent to grow within Iran, giving them voices, giving them ways to get their message out there, and to be more careful about it than what the U.S. government has done with supporting groups like the ME fucking K. Like, they have supported groups that shouldn't have been supported by the. I mean, that's more. That gets into so much more detail, right? Providing more funding alternative energy would help both against Saudi Arabia's government and Iran's government. A huge drop in oil prices, that can't come soon enough. So if you have alternative sources of energy, that doesn't just help the planet; it's also a huge security benefit for the whole world, not just for the United States. At some point, if somebody like Elon Musk could create like a satellite that just provides free internet, free access to internet without any filters for people in Iran, that by itself could change everything. So Armin the Navabian monster, that's my picture, isn't it? Holy crap, guys, go subscribe to Armin the Navabian monster. This is a parody account. Go subscribe to this guy. Armin the Navabian monster is saying Kyle is a fan of Mehdi Hassan. Is he? Oh my god. Soraya is saying, feed Donald Trump 2 kilograms of cabbage and beer and he'll be farting nukes, turning US into radiation zone. Okay. Again, I'm contractually obligated to highlight paid member comments. And Soraya, you can see by the mark here right next to his name, he's a paid member, so I'm contractually obligated to highlight his comment. Shopam is a moderator, so I have to also show him some love. Kyle saying, of course, Iran wants nukes for self-defense is like Kathleen Bennett saying, of course, she took an AR-15 to her graduation because of her right to self-defense. Marco saying, Armin is absolutely right. No oil, no more power for many of dangerous regimes in the world. Well, of course I'm right, Marco. P2020 saying, like an old saying goes in my country, when elephants fight, the deer dies in the middle, is what I think about all these. Yes. I heard a different way. I heard it's the grass that beneath that suffers. And right now, the grass that I'm worried about is the poor Yemenis people that are being crushed between the fight of the Saudi Arabia and Iran. Like, yeah, again, one thing, at least one side benefit to all the bullshit that Kyle puts out there is that at least he keeps mentioning the Yemeni situation. That stuff is not getting as much attention as it deserves. 1987 saying, Armin the Navabian monster picture is what you would look like if you still were religious. No, that's a Sunni guy. This looks like a Wahhabi guy. If I was still religious, I would be wearing a Shia. I wouldn't be an Imam. I don't think so. This is more of a Sunni outfit. Okay, just do. Oh, it's almost 1 hour, so I'm just going to do one more. Armin, no, that's your face on Bin Laden on Armin the Navabian's monster. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, guys, I at the end of it, I stopped worrying about swearing, so this video is not going to get recommended to that many people. So if you could do me a favor and maybe share it, that would be wonderful. We got new members and we got a super chat from Lee Spencer. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Today was getting this live stream up was very stressful because the power went out, and then in the middle of the live stream again, the internet got like flaky. So you guys getting all these new members and the super chat gave me some motivation, and he also upgraded his membership. So you guys, thank you. You guys are just too kind. I honestly don't know how to show my appreciation. I suck at, I try, but yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, P2020 is reminding you to go follow us on Twitch. Oh, by the way, I figured out what to do for our paid subscribers on Twitch. I went and looked, and there's a way that you could email all the paid subscribers on Twitch. So once I finally make the next member only member only video, I'm going to be emailing an unlisted link to all our Twitch subscribers as well. Finally figured it out. Okay, we got it. Oh my God, we got another new member. Thank you so much. Wait, U-turn. This guy is from Iran. He has like a pre-Islamic Republic flag of the Iranian regime from the Pahlavi dynasty. So thank you so much, Utran TM. I appreciate that. Wow, you guys are sweet. Thank you so much. And Marco is saying this was even better than usual. Thanks, Armin. Oh, thanks, Marco. Oh, love you back. Thank you so much. That's great. No, I'm not sad. 1987. I'm just grateful. I'm being grateful. I just don't know. I'm sad that I don't know how to show more of an appreciation. Anyways, this is getting too lovey-dovey, so I'm gonna go. Anyways, like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Okay, please hit that. That really helps. Soha is reminding all of you guys to follow us on Twitch and Twitter and all the links. You could follow Atheist Republic, but you could also follow me personally. Link on my personal accounts. Link to all of that is in the description. Again, thank you so much to our new members and new subscribers. If there is any, I'll look and email you guys. And also thank you for the super chat and all of that. Anyways, bye. Hit the notification bell now if you haven't. I know you haven't. Do it now. It says half a second. Do it now. All right, bye.